Hello, hello, people. Wow, you're all flooding in. I love it. And thank you very much all for being on time. I did ask for people to be on time. I appreciate that. How are we all doing? There is a chat facility, I'm sure. So if you guys, if you want to tell me how you're doing, I want to know who's in the room. I can see a few people. Oh my gosh, I can see Ellen and Marie. Hey, Bob. Good to see you. Christina. Hey, hey, hey. Hi, everybody. Come on, give me a sense of where you guys are. You all in London? Ooh, we got them all saying hi. Hi. Let me get the chat. Let me see who's responding. Hi. Oh, wow. Liverpool. Gosh, South London. Yeah, working from home. Cardiff. Oh, great. Leicester. Oh, gosh, Yorkshire, Cumbria. My gosh. We got that far. Your bedroom in London. London, whoop, whoop. Yeah. West London as well. I'm in North Wheatsey. West London, Hackney, London, South, my gosh, Southeast, brilliant. So we've got a real lovely mix. And what kind of roles are you guys doing? Are you kind of, I know we got quite a lovely mix. There was producers and directors and all kinds of stuff. You can tell me what you do. Tell me what you do as well, or what you're doing. Cool. Head of development, excuse me. Love it. Series producers, editors, head of development. Oh my God, music, computer. Oh my, it's moving too fast. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's fantastic. We're gonna give it 3 more minutes. I know I asked you guys to be on time, but 2 more minutes, and then I'm gonna get started. Brilliant producer, journalist, series producers, fixed reg, multi-camera director. Excuse me, Abigail, how you doing, darling? Investigator, investigations editor, director. Wow, serious amount of talent, man. Oh, you're good. That's good. Love you too, baby. I love you too. Series directors, a real lovely mix. And thank you guys also for those who sent their questions in. We'll get to them, and we'll try and answer as many questions as humanly possible. Anything we don't answer, we'll kind of compile a Q&A sheet and then send it all. Make sure that you'll get an email as well. Yeah, cool. Now I know that there's a few more people waiting to come in, so we'll just give them a couple more minutes, and I'll start at 5 past. I know that's 5 minutes later than I said I would, but yeah, just allow me. You can allow me. We've got self-shooters. Yeah, thank Bernard. Lovely to see you, King. I hope you're well. No, don't have to worry about being late. We haven't started. We're going to get started very, very soon. Just waiting for a few more people to come in. And there'll be a recording of the session, so we'll be able to share that with you afterwards. We'll make sure that you guys get the link so you can share it afterwards. And if you haven't, your applications, you should be filling out your applications, and your applications are due on the 29th of January. But I'll explain, as I explain a little bit more, it will become apparent and you understand what you need to do. And not that you've got, I mean, it's quite self-explanatory, but hopefully after this session, we'll have a clearer idea about what we're doing and what we're about. Yeah, fantastic. I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on. While we're doing that, just give me a second. Technical city started already. Okay, right. Okay, cool. Right, I'm gonna share my screen. You guys have to work with me. Cool? Right, excuse me. Right. Let's share my screen as people come in, and let's get started. Hi and welcome. Most of you should know I'm Simone Pennant. I run the TV Collective. We're an online resource for people of colour who work in the TV industry. We have 2 main functions. Number 1, to spotlight talent, and number 2, to showcase talent, and number 2, to also make sure that we give them opportunities as well, and create opportunities for them as well. We've been running for about 15 years now, and it's really great to be still in the game, still here, and still kind of supporting talent. And we hope that we're making an impact, and you're feeling us, and we hope that we're helping in your career. I can't lie, I'm a little nervous. This project's been a long time in the making, and I can't believe that I'm actually here and speaking to you all. So you've got to bear with me. I might fuck up it once or twice, but just allow me as I kind of get the technicals and everything going on. There's lots of me to do. I've got to do screenshots and I've got to talk at the same time. So just allow me. All right. Firstly, I want to just say I am truly, truly, truly humbled. The number I asked, just the numbers of you that showed up. We asked the industry to kind of spotlight and share with us who they think, the talent of colour that they think should have a spotlight and should be doing more. And they showed up in abundance. we've had over 400 nominations, which is insane. We kind of expected we'd get about 60 if we were lucky, but 400 have been absolutely amazing. And it just talks about how amazing we all are, and we already know that already. We had nominations from CEOs, we had nominations from creative directors, execs, and also self-nominees. And I want to thank each and every one of you that took the time out to nominate somebody and recognize their potential. It's so important. I really do hope that when you received your nominations over the new year, that felt really good. It was a really good way to start the year, to recognize or to understand that you are recognized. People see you, people see what you're up to. And I want to promise you that, and give you my commitment that we see you, and we will do everything in our power, particularly through this program and beyond, to ensure that the industry sees you too. I also want to just do a special acknowledgement to those who nominated themselves. Yeah, I know that we ask people to nominate you, but actually the fact that you nominated yourself gives you a little bit of a head start, because you already have made a choice and have kind of made a commitment that you want different. And taking action is really important, and I applaud you for that. That not only you have self-determination and self-belief, but you are determined to be the change that you want to see. We see you all, and you have my commitment. Again, I'll say, you have my commitment that the industry will see you soon. See you too. Now, this project has been about 5 or 6 years in the making. About 5 or 6 years ago, we ran a project called Buddy, which we paired senior execs with senior talent of color, to help them navigate their way through to the next level. Some of you might remember the project, or some of you might have been a part of the project. And in 2017, with the TVC Leaders List, in conjunction with the University of Westminster. I'm not sure if you can recognize anybody in that picture. What we did is we asked nearly 100 leaders of color to tread all the way down to Harrow, West London, and have their photographs taken. Now, you know that this is a mission, because trying to get a TV exec outside of Zone 1 is always challenging. The picture was used as part of an exhibition, and some of the portraits were displayed in the London's Mayor's office. And there's also a book that accompanied it. This is an evolution of this program. And I am delighted and extremely proud to just welcome you to the inaugural Breakthrough Leaders Project, celebrating the leaders of tomorrow, which are you. Before I get into it, I want to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Fremantle. As you all know, they're one of the world's leading production companies, and they have been so supportive in this process, and have got behind it 110%, offered resources. They're there, fully behind it. It's absolutely amazing to have such a big group supporting something like this. It makes such a statement to the industry about how important diversity is. Also want to obviously do a special thanks to Indigo Talent. Indigo Talent have been integral in bringing this project to life. They're a headhunting company that they proactively seek talent and facilitate relationships. And if you're looking to move on or looking for jobs, they're the people that you should be speaking to, because they're absolutely amazing. And a very special thanks to Remy. Remy is a coach, an entrepreneur, a business advisor, and he's worked with me over a long period of time to help develop this project. So very, very special thanks. Without these guys, this project wouldn't have happened. So I'm feeling extremely chuffed. Today, you're going to hear a lot more about the project. You're also going to hear from Jude, who will talk to you about how Indigo Talent will be supporting the process supporting your careers throughout the process and beyond. We'll be talking to Super Mentors Rob Clark, who's the global head of entertainment over at Fremantle, and also talking to Nellish Dehand, who's the creative director at Pulse Films. And finally, Remy will do a couple of sessions kind of giving you some tips and advice about setting goals for the 2021, choosing a mentor, and helping you get closer to your goals. Make sure you have a pen and paper ready. Make sure that if you've got any questions, put them in chat so we can get to all of them. And there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end. Before I get started, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second. Before I get started, we're going to have a special word from our sponsors. I want to introduce you to the former former commissioner at BBC. She's a leader. She's former commissioner at BBC. She's head of factual. She was head of factual at Channel 4. She's now the MD of Naked Productions, a Fremantle company. And she's someone we all love and respect. I'm going to hand you over to Miss Fatima Saleh.
Oh, Simone, thank you. Thank you so much, and big love to you, and a huge amount of respect to you, Simone, because we've kind of grown up together in the industry. I've always kind of been a big sister to you, and I've known you for years and years, and one of the things that I really admire about you is how you just keep going on stuff and you don't give up. And I think a lot of the work that you've done with TV Collective and the kind of initiatives and the kind of things that you've talked about have paved the way for lots and lots of people. So big thank you to you. So yes, I am very, very proud to be part of the Fremantle group, and very, and I joined Naked as the MD about 3 months ago from Channel 4. From Specialist Factual, and I'm loving every single minute of this, and loving being back in the creative industry where I'm at the heart of ideas and working with talent and working with people, and it's just, you know, a brilliant thing for me to have done. I think what you guys are doing is really important, because if I could just say that I've been working in telly for at least 25 years, and I would say that in the last 5 years, my career has been absolutely transformed by a lot of things. One, it's been the role of mentors and people in my life who have supported me and who have nurtured me and who have helped open doors for me. And I would say that before that, I didn't really believe in that kind of world, and I found it incredibly hard to be part of that kind of world. And I think that networking and having people around you who can advise you and talk to you and talk to other people is something that I've just learnt. I think that being able to, when you get to you know, when you get to a position like mine, I am a firm believer in not pulling the ladder up behind me. I want to make sure that I can get as many people on that ladder to come up and to continue that journey with me. You know, that's part of the reason I came to Naked, is that I can create a family of people there who can come in and out of Naked, who can come to me with ideas, who can come to me if they want advice, who can come to my team if they want to work on projects with us. I want to create a really open door policy there where I can kind of encourage people in whatever way I can. And I just would say to you that in terms of taking something like this seriously and milking it for as much as you can, and using every single opportunity that the Breakthrough Leaders Programme gives to you, I would absolutely do that. It will take a lot of hard work and time and commitment from you. Things might not go right and things might not go, you know, they might go wrong, but don't give up on it, because I think together, working with everybody in the industry is the only way that we are absolutely gonna change it. And I think having a big company like Fremantle there behind it, and making sure that there is longevity in it, and using the experience that I'm coming across myself at Fremantle, with the experience and the wealth of knowledge there is just great, just for me on a personal level. And so, you know, I think it's a fabulous thing, Simone, that you guys are doing and that Jude's doing, and it's just, you know, I totally fully support it, and will help you, as you know, in whatever way I can.
Thank you so much, Fatima. That means a lot. And it's so good to have your support. It's like you say, it's like having auntie on side. Somebody you can kind of just chat. I mean, we all know, we've known you, most of us known you for so long. Do you know what I mean? And you've been so, you know, we've been able to reach out, and you've been able to offer support as and when needed. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's so important and great that you're in here. Yeah, I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it. All right. So I'm going to jump back into it. And I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit more detail about the program. Yeah. So me and this technical, I'm trying my best, but Lord, the technicals, but we'll get there. Right. Okay. Can somebody give me a drum roll? Can't believe it. Welcome to the inaugural Breakthrough Leaders Program. Yeah, I'm so excited. Celebrating you, the leaders of tomorrow. As you know, we are looking for 50 leaders from Black, Asian, minority backgrounds for a career defining opportunity. But guess what? We found you. Not only did we find you, we found all 400 of you. 400 nominations. It still blows my mind. This ultimately, the ultimate aim for this program is to kind of see if we can build a group of leaders that can kind of go through the industry and kind of be the change that we've been talking about for years that we want to see. So we are looking. So this is that opportunity. Our breakthrough leaders will have worked in TV, the UK TV industry, at a middle to senior level, with 8 years experience or more, and are ready to take the next step, which I know that you're all are, because you're all here. Before I go any further, I just want you to take a minute to kind of think about what kind of leader you think you are, or not even what you think you are. What kind of leader are you? And just take a minute to put that in chat for me. Just let me know. I'll be interested to hear what you guys are thinking. We are looking for 50 leaders, but actually, what does being a leader mean? What does it mean being a leader? In fact, what is a leader? Is it that you have the top job? I can hear many of you saying, yeah, that would be nice. Or is it being able to lead from any position that you're in? Is it being able to influence, disrupt, influence change, and enroll people into your ways of thinking? By doing this, these are the types of leaders that we are looking for. Now, because there are so many of you, we've got to find a way to select. So for the leaders that we are looking for people who have a clear idea of what they want to achieve over the 12 months, have a clear understanding of what they need to do to be able to achieve this and be committed to that. They need to also understand how their chosen mentor will help with their career aspirations, and think about the overall impact that they want to have on their career. Over the course of the year, you'll be partnered with a mentor and who's a leading industry figure, and that mentor becoming a person of your choice. There'll also be a top industry coach who will work with you to identify the individual support that you need, whether that be extending your contacts, raising your profile, or banishing any self-limiting beliefs. We will work with you to create your own individual career plan, and in each month you'll either meet your mentor or your coach. And when it comes to coaches, you'll be able to choose your coach. Let me turn this off and look at you guys, yeah? You'll be able to choose your coach. You'll be able to choose your coach. You'll be able to choose your coach from a list of approved and really experienced coaches. And they will be dealing with you to silence the voice in your head. You know, the little voice in the back of your head that says that you can't? That's the coach's job, to kind of get into that work with you. They'll be there to help you unpick anything that might be holding you back, help you clarify your goals, what you stand for, and as well as helping you to create new and more productive ways of thinking. Your chosen mentor will be the person that gives you career advice. They will be able to help you navigate through sticky situations, introduce you to the right people, or just share their knowledge and expertise about getting to the place that you want to be. Oh, I just want to say a quick word about mentors. I really need you to think really carefully about the mentors you choose. Somebody put in their application that they wanted Idris Elba. Now, don't get me wrong, I want Idris Elba too, you know, and I'm sure there's a couple of things that he could teach me. But I need you really to think about your mentor. Having a celebrity name is great, but actually, what can they really show you? How can they really support you in your career journey? So you know, are they going to be able to give you the practical advice that you need to take the next step? Now, you don't need to know your mentor personally. It might be just somebody that you admire and somebody that you know, yeah? And we'll get in touch with them on your behalf. So you tell us who it is that you want to be mentored by. Like in the application, it's got details, and you give the contact details as well, and we'll get in touch with you. We'll get in touch with them for you, yeah? Now, if they're not available, we'll suggest an alternative, and we might even challenge you on why do you want this mentor, and might give you some suggestions of who we might think may be a better fit. Lastly, there'll be monthly masterclasses and activities as part of the project, as well as opportunities for you guys to speak at panel events, attend industry events, and meet key people. All of this is to make sure that we raise your profile as much as possible and you get the maximum out of the process. Now, I want to be clear, this process is about facilitating major growth and breakthroughs in your career and supporting you to get rid of anything standing in your way and of success. And this is going to look different for every single one of you. Now, I know that many of you have been on mentoring programs before, training schemes, industry initiatives, and you're probably asking yourself, what's different about this? Well, I'd like to think it's different because I know how hard it is to navigate the industry as a person of color. And it's often you're not trusted, you're for training schemes and work placements instead of jobs. When you reach mid-level, you feel that glass ceiling kind of fast approaching. Well, please, I know, I get it. I get this, I really do. I get it. It can be frustrating, it can be exhausting, it can leave you feeling jaded and like you're battling to get through the industry on your own. But if you're really passionate about what it is you want to do, there's always going to be a way. Now, a word of warning, please don't be like me. I'm a proud Black woman, but my social conditioning has trained me that I've got to do it by myself. I got to do it on my terms and in my way. And it means that I sometimes see asking for help as a sign of weakness. And if someone does offer me help, I'm usually giving them a side eye and wondering, what is it that they want? Why are they offering me help for? But I can't lie that when I'm being like this, it can be really, really draining. It can be difficult to ask for help and knowing what to ask for. So you have to be clear about your art, and also kind of being clear about your art, and also worrying about what people think about you. Oh my God, is she less than because she's asking for help? But it wasn't until somebody said to me, is people only choose to support people that they think have real potential of being a success. And also to be clear, anybody who's a major success in this industry is getting mentoring or coached in some way, whether it's formal or informal. I also want to be honest with you. If you're expecting a job at the end of the process, this is not the program for you. I can't say this more than enough. This process is about supporting growth and a major breakthrough in your career. I promise you, if you fully engage with your coach and your mentor over 12 months, have an open mind, be willing to share your vulnerabilities and hold yourself accountable, I guarantee not only will you leave this process with a leader's mindset, but you'll also be able to track not only the job you want, the finance for the project that you want, or to win that elusive commission, but better still, under your terms. Now, no matter whether you go with this process or not, ask yourself, I want you to do something for me in 2021, yeah? So whether we go, you're on the process or you're not on the process, I want you to make this promise for me before you leave. I want you to know what your ask is, yeah? I want you not to be afraid to go out and ask for help and ask for support. I want you to surround yourself with people that are going to make your career happen in the way that you want it to happen. And above all, I want you to make your success and your joy your top priority. Now, before we're going to do some questions. I'm going to do them later on, but before we do that, I'm going to hand you over to Jude, and Jude is going to talk to you about Indigo's talent involvement and how they're going to support your careers not only through this process but on beyond. So, welcome, Jude. Thank you very much, Jude.
Hello. Am I there? Hi, everyone.
I'm going to spot.
Thank you, Simone, and welcome to everyone. It's great to see how I'm looking at some of the chat messages coming through. Actually, it's brilliant to see how interactive everyone has been.
Is that me or is Jude frozen?
Oh, hello.
Jude is frozen. Okay, well, while Jude comes back, and you guys can hear me still?
Am I back?
Give me a yes or just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can still hear me. Oh, you're back. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Sorry, did I?
All right, fantastic.
Am I back?
You are indeed. You are indeed. Handing over to you. I told you guys, we're all human out here. There's going to be some technicals. So fantastic. No problem. Good to have you back. Good to have you back.
I have given strict instructions to everyone else in the house to keep off the internet, but maybe they're being disobeyed already. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jude Thompson. I am the founder and managing director of Indigo Talent. We are a boutique headhunting company and we work across the scripted and non-scripted world. We have amazing clients with production companies and broadcasters, including Fremantle. We work with Sky, 2020, various artists, Lightbox, Sony. And we tend to work at permanent hires, so not really in the freelance world. So typical positions we hire for are heads of development, creative directors, script editors, commissioning execs, exec producers, occasionally a little more junior. We've just completed a search for an assistant commissioning role at Sky Docs that we're very excited about, and a development exec for Sky Comedy to work under the very talented Anil. Just going to see if I can, oh, can I share, can you put mine on share, Simone? Simone, hello. I'm just wondering if I can be on share at some point. I would trying to share with you the quote which always really resonates with me, which is the Maya Angelou quote. And that is, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and importantly, liking how you do it. And that's really resonates with me personally, and also is at the heart of Indigo. It's really working with creative talent to understand what career success looks like to them and to create strategies accordingly. Throughout this program, we'll be working with you guys, with all the participants, in conjunction with your mentor, to work through what your story is and what your version of success is career-wise. Very excited to partner with TVC. Thank you for the opportunity, Simone. And one of our commitments to the program is to provide ongoing career support for all participants after the 12 months. I think this is one of the differences on the schemes that Simone and I were talking about, is this isn't something that's 12 months, that's it, thanks, bye. This is a commitment for, well, basically forever in your career. We're gonna be stalking the brilliance of you guys who are our future leaders, our candidates. And yeah, definitely continue with that support. Somebody asked a question before we got started, actually, about how talent managers, how people will know about you all, particularly during the COVID scenario where there's not as many opportunities to network and get out and about. We will promise you that every talent manager in this industry will know about all of you who are on the participants and are on this program. We're absolutely going to champion you across all the industry, so they will know about you. As Simone touched on, we have an exceptional program over the 12 months of speakers and masterclasses. We will be running one of the modules around interviews and meetings. This is great prep, whatever the level you're at. There'll be some coaching around body language, so fascinating, through to how to handle tough interviews and navigate difficult meetings and conversations. I really wish I'd had a lot of those tools way earlier in my career. Might have avoided some of the absolute car crash meetings I look back on that I've had. You will also have the opportunity during our module to opt in to meetings with talent managers in the industry. A lot of you may not be proactively looking for roles. I know you've got some great jobs at the moment, but we always advise you to take any opportunity you can to meet with people, to widen your network, and just to get on people's radars. So we will organise that during our module and over the months to have those meetings. Thinking about interviewing, it can be nerve-wracking, but actually how to perform in an interview can sometimes be the difference between actually getting the job or not. Simone and I have talked about this at length, and we do agree you should always bring your authentic self to any meeting, but there are techniques that we can learn to leave the interviewer with the best impression of us. And actually, for us to leave that meeting knowing that we've given the absolute best version of ourselves in that room. I was just going to share a little, I can't speak, anecdote about, well, we'll call her Sarah. She's actually quite senior in the industry. And she was telling me about an interview she went to with one of her absolute creative heroes, and went through the interview. She said she answered the questions okay. And she went to leave the meeting, only she didn't actually exit the meeting quite as she intended. She ended up in a cupboard. And this was obviously mortifying, and she said it would have made things much better if she just popped out the cupboard and apologized, but instead she found herself sort of overcome with fear and paralysis and stayed in the cupboard until the interviewer actually came and opened the door. Now, We can't help you with exit room strategy, but what we would like to help you with is technique for those interviews. And whilst I've got you today, I'm just going to try and share my screen with you. Oh, you see that? There's my quote. And just thought I'd be really useful to run through 3 of my top interview tips. Here we go. So, preparation. I mean, it sounds incredibly obvious, but you'd be surprised. Research the company. Has anything significantly happened in the next month? Know what shows they've greenlit, and bring all of this up in the meeting, if possible, in the interview. It shows that you're prepared and that you're interested in the company. You know, I'm really excited you've just had the next series of Glow Up Commission. I loved it. Just little tips like that. I'm sure Remy will be touching on this during his coaching, but it's really good practice to always set your intention or your outcome for every meeting that you go into, every interview. What do you want to happen? Get through to the next stage, nail the interview, get the job. One thing my team always does before any meeting is we set that outcome, and we think about how do we want that person to feel about us when we've left the meeting. I mean, words we used are energized because they've enjoyed the meeting, inspired by our conversation, and actually really confident that they found the right person or the right company to work with. Also, it's good before you enter the door or go to the meeting on a Zoom, take a deep breath, have a moment, remind yourself about your intention, then off you go and smash it. Questions. I mean, this is absolutely vital. You have got to, oh, I've missed one out, sorry. 3 key points about you. You've got a lot of experience already. So my advice would be really to highlight 3 key points that you want to bring into that meeting. Make it really relevant. I mean, the worst possible response if someone asks you, so tell me about yourself, is if you actually launch into the whole, well, you know, I started here and then I did this and then I got a job there. It's, you know, talk about these highlights, bring those out. Again, we'll work with all the participants to really help you shape these things. And preparing questions, vital, and can actually help you shape the conversation to share your key points. And also offers the interview a window into how you think and your insights. A great question, for example, to ask early on is, what is your vision for the company? And then actively listen to what they say and respond. So for example, if the interviewer says, well, actually, that's a great question, and we really want to grow the business into the premium factual space over the next 3 years, hopefully, this would dovetail beautifully into one of your key points. Oh, that sounds like a great plan, seeing how much Netflix have invested in the space. Over the last 3 years, I've played a key part in the team that developed and delivered 2 premium series at Netflix. The dream, but that would be a great way to position yourself. Another question is to ask, how will you know if you've made the right hire? What does success look like for you in this role? People enjoy being asked questions like this, and it also gives you more insight into whether this role is right for you. Remember, interviewing is a 2-way thing. For example, if you're going for a head of development role and the creative director goes, oh yeah, you know, we want to get 5 returnable series away over this year. I mean, absolute panic stations and alarm bells should be ringing, because the thought of having 5 returnable series away is, well, extremely unrealistic. Even Studio Lambert, who are the kings of a returnable format, would struggle with that expectation. First impressions absolutely count. Non-verbal cues matter even more than verbal ones. So in those first few minutes, it's about smiling confidently, making eye contact, and generally looking like you're really glad to be there. Be aware of your body language. We'll cover more about this, all really fascinating, but I guess the most obvious one is don't sit there with your arms closed, crossed, your legs crossed. It just feels like you're really closed. You want an open energy when you're in the meeting. And engage in small talk. It is really important to be friendly, not sharing details on what you've had for your lunch or anything like that, but you know, it's easy for us. We're in an industry where you've got programming to talk to. If you're going to see 2020, start with, oh, I'm loving the series of first dates. And, you know, make sure you've actually seen it, because if somebody turns around and then says, oh, what do you think about the new venue, new location, you want to be able to talk about it. And lastly is really follow up. Again, it's such an important piece and little thing to do, but always, always, always send an email after any interview or any meeting to thank that person for their time. And if you've spoken about anything specific with them, then just bring that up. It shows you've listened, it shows you've interested, and it shows you've got good manners. Do not underestimate how important those things are to stand out in this industry. With all this preparation, the ability to have a fluid conversation, it conveys preparation, intelligence, people skills, and commitment to your career. I'm really, really, really so happy to be part of this. And I'm really committed to helping all of you who participate in our program with your careers, as will my team, and we'll make as many introductions as we possibly can to impact and contribute to this next layer of leadership. Thank you very much for your time, everyone, and I'll pass you back to Simone. Hopefully.
Brilliant. That was amazing, fantastic. What I was, that was, yeah, it was. We're getting so much comments in. Jay, just saying that was amazing and really, really helpful. So really thank you for that. What I'm going to do, we've got a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is take some questions. I think it'd be a really good opportunity to take a few questions about the leadership. And I know that there's been quite a few questions in, and then we can pick up questions again at the end of the session as well. I'm going to go through and I'm just going to pick them up as will I am. Right, let's see. And I know that we had some sent in as well. Right, we've got lots of stuff about what leaders are. Oh, okay, are these questions? Oh, they're just comments. It was good to hear what you guys thought about being a leader, actually. That was really important. One of the questions that keeps coming up is whether you need to know your mentor, whether you're expected to speak to your mentor, because we have a question that asks is whether you have your mentor's contact details. It would be a lot easier if you send us mentor details, their contact details, and do a little bit of research and find out who it is. We're a small team, so we're not going to be able to. And if you imagine there's 400 people who've applied, or there's been 400 nominees. So to be able to go through and find those contact details is going to be really difficult for us. So if you have the contact details, that really, really helps. So you can make sure that you have the contact details. I've suggested that you put 3 mentors in. This is so that you can kind of get an understanding of the types of people that you want to be mentored by, why you're choosing those mentors. And between me, myself and Ju, we know so many people in the industry. We can, if they're not available or they're not the right person, we can make suggestions of other mentors that you could have. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see. I can see there's lots coming in the chat. Let's see. Thanks, Ju. Presentation was great. Somebody's got an interview tomorrow, Ju. So that was really helpful for helping them out for tomorrow, which is great. Do you know what I mean? We're selecting our mentors. Yeah, you guys are selecting your mentors. So I really want you to think about, and that's from Marina. Hi, Marina, it's good to hear from you. Think about who's going to really help you in that next stage of your career. Who's going to really support you? Do you know what I mean? Who's achieved the thing that you want to achieve? We're going to be doing a session in a minute about mentoring, and we'll get into mentors and what makes a good mentor and how you can establish a good mentoring relationship. But you really do need to think about what is it that you want to achieve and who are the right people that can help you to achieve that. Like I said, the mentors are meant to be the people that give you career guidance, kind of talk to you about who you should be talking to, open up their contact books is another one. They might just share with you kind of sticky situations that they've been in, or you could use them to explain or talk about sticky situations that you're in. So, you know, think really carefully about who is your mentor. I've seen some real wild names come in. It's good, and you guys are ambitious. I've seen Issa Rae come in as well. I want Issa Rae as well. I want Oprah. I want Michelle Obama. And I want, what's that show, The Rhymes? I mean, you know, but we got to be sensible in terms of actually it's within the UK TV industry and who is in the industry that who can really support. Okay, I'm a creative and I'd like to move into more strategic business role. This is from Newton. How would you frame yourself when trying to sell yourself, when trying to sell yourself to your mentor to hone in the abilities? I mean, part of that, once you're really clear about what it is you want to achieve, and how, then we start to start thinking about who's achieved what you've done already, then we can help really making that introduction with the mentor. Jude, do you have any thoughts in terms of somebody wanting to move from a creative role to a business strategic role?
Yeah, absolutely. I think having a mentor is an excellent idea for that. We can, as Simone said, we can really help you, shape you with those ideas. So if you're getting stuck on who the mentors are, do get in touch and see if we can help. Absolutely. I think it's a great idea to find somebody more strategic or in the business side that could help you make that transition. That's interesting. You don't normally get creatives that want to go into the real strategic business element, although a creative director will always have the need to look at the business level. Remy, I know, coaches a lot of those very senior creatives who are running their business and need that perspective. And actually in the program, Simone and I have spoken, if anyone has got those ambitions, then we will enable that to happen in some way.
Now, somebody asked, was saying that they've been on schemes and mentoring before and it hasn't been well structured and either party knows what's going on, and despite best intentions, what's the difference with our project? Now, I can't talk to any project that you've been on before, but our intent and our commitment is to facilitate those relationships as well as we can. If anything's not working, you've always got myself to talk to, and I can kind of talk to the mentors and find out what's going on. Not all mentoring relationships are going to work. You might not gel, do you know what I mean? And there may be things that we've got to work out. So it's important that you come as soon as you can feel that there may be an issue, and be really open and honest about what's going on. Whatever is shared with me or shared with Jude or with any of the team won't be shared to the mentor, but we will try and facilitate, or if we do, we'll share it in a way that's not damaging. But what we want to do is get the best out of these relationships. I'm acutely aware of how many schemes there has been in the industry, and how many, we hear about all these schemes and then things die off. This is about you creating a space where you can have growth and breakthroughs in your career. So it's, as much as we can facilitate that, this is a lot about you and what you bring to the program and what you bring, the kind of attitude that you bring as well. We've got another question here. Do the mentors have to be Black, Asian, minority ethnic? Oh, no, because that'll be, you all will be mentoring each other, right? No, I'm joking. No, you don't. It has to be, whoever you want, you just put the name. They have to be UK based, but you give us the name, tell us why. It's really important that you thought about why, so that when we're asking these people to mentor you, that we can, there is a framework that they know that they can actually help you with. So they know that they can actually make a decision. Well, yeah, I want to mentor that person because I absolutely know I can help them with that, with what it is that they want. So really think about, why you want this mentor. Jude, again, is there anything in terms of thinking, a lot of questions coming up about mentors, and I know we're going to do a session in a minute where we're going to go into that a little bit more, but is there any other thoughts that you would say about mentoring? Think about mentoring, Jude.
Well, we will be there in the background, by the way, to really help with that relationship, and we will be giving support to the mentors and the mentees to ensure things are running as smoothly as they can. And we will try and get that good fit. We're good at matchmaking. That's what my job is to matchmake, when we're hiring. So we will really help with that piece. And also Jo, I've just seen come through on the chat saying head of development, and obviously her role is very much, you have got to have that business head on as well as creative. So yes, Jo will absolutely can help again on that business side. What else?
As someone was asking, I mean, it's like confusion. We are suggesting that you put down 3 mentors, but it'd only be 1 mentor that you work with over the year. Yeah, just to clarify that there'll be just 1 mentor that will support you through the time.
And we've also got ideas for you. So, like Simone said, if you've put somebody and either they're not available or they've just, they might be incredibly busy on production or something like that, we will always be able to drill down into why you want that person and make another suggestion. We will definitely be able to help with that. Between us and Remy as well, we've got a lot of contacts in the industry.
Jude, there's been a question coming in for you. What's the difference of hiring someone at senior levels? Is there a leadership that you're caring most? Sorry, let me read that again. What's the difference of hiring senior level talent? Is the leadership that you're caring most? What's the key for you to choose somebody? Could you share how you convince employers that that I'm the right person to be hired or to step up in that position?
Well, actually, that's a really good question. And there are, which we will be talking about during the programme, because there are absolute certain skills, certain attitudes, certain ways of being which come across in leadership. And actually, somebody else mentioned that earlier on one of the comments. That's changing and evolving rapidly as well, as we're stepping into this new sort of post-pandemic world. Like, leaders have to be agile. You've seen how successful companies have had to pivot quickly. We've seen across the production industry that with all of these production, particularly all of you who come from the production exec, head of production world, that as this new layer of needs have gone on top from COVID, everybody's has had to move really quickly with a lot of agility. There's been some brilliant leadership there, we can see that. So that's one trait we look for. Also, leaders need to be courageous. They need to make difficult decisions. They need to make quick decisions. We see going into the future that leadership is really about looking after their people and bringing the next generation up as well. There's a lot of these core competencies that we will be exploring in detail through the program and sharing with you, because leadership can be learnt. Leadership, if you want to be in that senior level where you have, you're leading a company, as Simone said, there's lots of different types of leadership, but if you're one where you want to be leading a company, there are things that you can learn that puts you into more chance of being successful, careful with that word, but more chance of being successful into stepping into that role. Just while we touch on that, leadership can also be, like, I work with a lot of directors. Somebody was mentioning, I had a question from a director earlier. We work with a lot of directors in premium factual and in that feature doc space. And those guys, their idea of success, their leadership and program making, they are phenomenal, a lot of these people, but they're not going to be, they don't want to be running a company. Their choice is being successful and leading in putting standout shows on screens for us all to enjoy. So different variations. I've completely gone off on a tangent. This is totally normal. I'm sorry. Back to you, Simone.
No, but also I think that thing about leadership, for me, it's really important that you leadership is, you define your own style and you define your own leadership, and you can be a leader at any position. Leader is about kind of influencing people and enrolling them into your way of thinking and, disrupting and influencing and inspiring. So you can do that no matter what you do. What it is trying to get you to have this kind of mindset around leadership, and know that actually no matter what you do, you can feel confident and happy and content with whatever you're doing, knowing that you have influence and knowing that you're shaping the landscape. And I think that's really important. That's really important. There's a few more questions before we've got our next guest. Somebody asked if you're freelance, whether that kind of counts you out. Absolutely not. This is absolutely for those in jobs and those who are freelancing. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether you're a freelancer or you're not. Can we help with pitching to independent? I mean, if that's what you want to do, what you should do is, you would work, as I said at the beginning, that you will be working on a career plan. And Remy will start getting you in that mindset when he does his session a little bit later, but there'll be a career plan. And on that career plan, if, winning a commission is part of your career plan, then you'll kind of build and speak to your mentor that you choose will help you do that. And your coach will kind of work with your mindset and ensuring you're able to do that. So whatever it is that you want to achieve, this is your journey, and this is up to you. Just want to make sure that let's see if there's one or two questions before. What participants will have a scheme? Now I know there are so many schemes going on at the moment, isn't there? There's the amazing Wonder Woman mentoring scheme that kicked off quite recently. I know Wilman Film and TV do something. Although it's not going to go against you, we do really want to reach out to people who are not on a scheme or haven't had the opportunity before. So it's not saying that that's going to cross you out, but we will consider that actually if somebody isn't on one of the mentoring schemes at the moment, that we would probably, we might consider them before. Right. Without further ado, we can get back to the questions. There'll be lots of opportunity at the end to get back to questions, but we've got Rob here. Rob is the Global Director for Fremantle's International Programming and Formats. And he's going to, I'm going to introduce him, and he's going to speak to us about mentoring, the importance of mentoring. Thank you so much, Rob, for being here. Yeah, brilliant.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Please, you know, have you been a mentor or have you been mentored? What's been your experience, Rob?
I've been mentored and I've been a mentor in my career. So I think it's important that you know my background. So I'm from a very working class background. I'm from a small town in the north of England called Doncaster, and which is not renowned for, it's not exactly the Hollywood of the north. And I came to television in quite a circuitous route, in that I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left university. So I ended up coming to television via a commercial route, really, rather than a creative route. So when I joined, it was a long time ago. It was back in the sort of mid-80s when I first started working, and I worked on sort of big entertainment shows like Surprise, Surprise and Blind Date and lots of other big shows. And for me, I knew I wanted to work in television, but I had no idea really what I was supposed to be doing. So the idea of mentoring was an essential part of my life, because I needed very quickly to learn from the people around me what the job was. And I've never been afraid of asking for help. I've never been afraid of saying I don't know. And I think that's something that everybody should bear in mind on a mentoring scheme, in that not knowing something is not a sign of weakness. Actually asking a question is a sign of strength. And a good mentoring relationship is one where you're both asking questions of each other. So in my career, I feel like I've been very lucky in that I've been mentored by some fantastic men and women during that time at different phases of my career. So I would say that in my early career, the person that was the biggest mentor to me was a woman called Thelma McGough, who had a fantastic career in entertainment format production. And she really was a terribly generous person, in the sense that she advised me on how I should on what I should do and how I should sort of go about the work that I was doing. And she was always there for me. She was always on the end of the phone. It was a really good relationship. And then at later stages in my career, if I'm honest, Thelma wouldn't have been that much use, because I'd moved further than she had up the greasy pole, and I needed people around me who were a little bit sort of more senior than me to advise me on how to behave and what I should be doing. And I found those through people like Richard Holloway, and then for those of you that have been around for a bit longer, somebody called Alan Boyd, who invented television, really. And these were hugely important people in my career, and I'm very grateful for them. And they were perfect relationships for the time. And with all of them, it went beyond being a mentoring scheme or a mentoring relationship to a relationship that's sort of, friends. When Thelma got married, I was her best man. I've been best man at Richard's wedding. So it can become a very deep relationship with certain people. The people that I've mentored have been many across the sort of my career. And again, for people at different stages of my career, I've been a good mentor. So I've probably been a good mentor to people who were just starting their careers when I was earlier in my career. So when I was a producer, I was sort of, more than happy to guide the people that were working with me. In my later career, I suppose I've been mentoring people who have reached crucial points in their sort of mid-career, if you like. And I think probably the most successful is the one that is worth talking about the most, because it's the oddest one. So I was given, through a scheme that Fremantle run, a German producer of drama to mentor. And at first I was quite resistant to it, because I thought, well, A, I don't know anything about drama. B, he's a German, and I don't really want a mentoring relationship that's a long distance one. And I thought there might be some cultural issues there as well with how they produce and how I produce. Trust me, it's quite a different way. And so I was sort of quite concerned about it. However, I agreed that we would meet. So I went over to Berlin and I met this guy. And it really has been a very, very successful mentoring relationship, I would say, for both of us. And this is why. He had two itches that he wanted scratching in a way. One, he was at that stage in his career where he'd been an EP, but he was getting to that stage where he wanted to be an EP on more than one show. And I think in my career, that's the hardest step that you have to make. Because as an EP on one show, you're effectively still doing that show. But when you have a number of shows that you're exec producing, then you've got to learn to give up the reins and let other people run those shows. And that's hard because they're often shows that were your babies, that you've looked after them for a while, you know, and you've got to trust people much more, you know, and they make mistakes and you see them make mistakes, but you're trying to edge them round, you know you could still probably do it better than they could in the first year they're running the show. But in the future, they'll be better than you if you're guiding them and everything. So I think that was one area that I could really help him on. And the other area that he wanted was German drama production is very parochial in that they make shows just for Germany. And Jörg didn't want to be that. Jörg wanted to find a subject matter that even if it was in German language, it had international potential. And this is something that for the last 20 years of my career, that's what I've based my career on. But from an entertainment point of view. So I know if you want a successful hit in entertainment, the one thing it has to have, it must be transferable. So it cannot have anything that culturally stops it transferring. So that was the thing that I was able to advise Jörg on. And I said to him, you know, you need to find a subject matter that is interesting to everybody, whether they're American, whether they're French, whether they're Chinese, whoever they are, they'll find it. And he wrote the script and then produced the show for a drama called Deutschland 83, which then became Deutschland 86, Deutschland 89, and is probably, well, not probably, it is the most successful international drama that has ever come out of Germany. So in that sense, I was able to help and advise. And that was a very successful relationship. But I want to also talk about the ones that didn't work, because this is in some ways as important. As a mentee and mentor, you need to find a rapport and you need to find some common ground. And certainly with one of the people that I was mentoring, we just never managed to find that common ground. And we sort of agreed rather swiftly that we would separate and we wouldn't carry on. And it wasn't that I didn't like them or they didn't like me. It was that what they really wanted from a mentoring scheme wasn't what I could offer. They really wanted somebody who was going to be on the phone 24 hours a day to them. And I've got a very busy job. So mentoring isn't about that. It's not about sort of being there all of the time. It's about being able to offer additional advice or advice when necessary. So I think that's really important. And then I just want to talk about one more thing, and that is that in our everyday jobs, we should see that mentoring is a very important part of what we're doing. So as a sort of, once you get to a senior position within television, and by that I mean anybody really above producer level, you will have people reporting into you. And it is your responsibility to guide and influence and help those people. And that is part of your job. And the best producers and the best executive producers, the best commissioners, the best managing directors, the best sort of entrepreneurs in television, they know that that's their job. And they take that responsibility as seriously as if they were making the show. And I think that in your careers, as you advance, that is the one thing that I would ask you always to remember. Right, that's me finished. Was that enough?
Thank you. I've got this. After so long doing these Zooms, I still have my my mute on. Thank you so much, Rob. I think that's really been really useful. While we have you there, because I know you have to push off soon, has anybody got any questions that they want to ask Rob? I mean, he's a font of knowledge and has been around for so much. Yeah, it was, Daniel. It was really, really helpful. Has anyone got any questions that you want to put?
I have a question, Simone.
Yes, please.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Remy.
Hi, Remy.
So earlier, people were asking, you know, do they need to choose someone who is BAME to mentor them? And of course, the answer is no. But at the same time, I was just curious, from your perspective, how, as a working class person in TV, class played a part. Would you have felt more comfortable being coached by somebody or mentored by somebody who had been on your path before? Or how did that play out? Because if someone hasn't really been through what you've been through in terms of feeling other, then can they understand what you need, I guess?
No, I don't think so. I think what I wanted from my mentors were, I wanted people that knew what they were talking about, that could really offer me practical and sometimes emotional advice. You know, sometimes I found myself in situations that I didn't necessarily want to be in, and how to get out of them and how to manage it, the whole thing, sometimes with staff, sometimes with senior management, whatever. But I always chose people that I thought were much cleverer than me at the time, and therefore they could offer me information that I didn't have, and they didn't have to have come through the background that I've come through. I know what my background is. I know how that affects the way I think. I know how that affects the way that I see the world. And in some ways, what I wanted was a different perspective. I'm well aware of what my perspective is. Mentoring is about broadening that perspective. It's not necessarily about honing that perspective. So I wanted people that had, in many ways, were very different to me.
Thanks.
I mean, that was a really, really important question, because I often think, do I need to have somebody who's very similar to me, or somebody who's trodden the grounds that I want to be with? But I think that there is merit in having people that are different and have different experiences, because they can add to that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really useful. Oh, well, I want to say thank you, Rob. Everybody's really commenting on how fantastic that was and how useful and insightful that was. So I really appreciate your time. I think it's really interesting that a lot of people assume that not everybody has mentors, and whether you have mentors, whether it's in a structured, formally or informally, have you always had a mentor throughout your career? Is somebody, like you were saying, somebody's always been there to offer guidance and advice?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I think that sort of, I never understand why. Well, I suppose I do understand why some people don't like the idea of mentoring, but if it's done properly, it goes back to this thing. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I said, you know, what you're saying is you're assuming that means that it's a sort of weakness in your sort of attitude. And I said, I don't think it is. I think it's a real strength. And I think that sort of admitting that you don't know everything, and at almost every stage of your career, is a very useful thing. And knowing where to get information from, and having people around you that have either coached you, mentored you, been sort of, you know, sort of people you've looked up to in the industry over the years, or not necessarily even in the industry, outside of the industry, just people that you admire that are sort of wise, you know, it's a really essential part. You know, one thing that we do really badly in television is we don't train people. So you join, you know, I'd been a very good marketing person before I joined television. And on day one, they said, right, surprise, surprise, we're in studio in 10 weeks' time. We need lots of end reunions from you. We need funny things for Scylla to do. We need this, this, and this. And I was like, Jesus Christ, you know, but the people around me had done it the years before, and I basically just sort of looked at what they were doing and copied. Found my own stories. It wasn't difficult. You know, once you know what you're doing, you can normally do it. but nobody trains you. And then the next step, you're an associate producer. And I was lucky in that I'd had management training before, and I'd been through various courses with the National Union of Students and with the company that I'd worked for before. But if you've come straight from union, you haven't had that, then actually when you get to be an associate producer and then a producer, and you're then a manager. And if nobody's taught you how to manage, then you've got a problem on your hands, because you're not innately born to be a TV producer who has to be creative, who has to understand budgets, who has to know how to manage sometimes very sizable teams. So any advice that you can get, whether it's through a formal scheme or an informal scheme or whatever, I always think you should grab.
I tend to agree. We've got a question in from you as well. Have you ever ended up creatively collaborating with someone you've mentored or have been mentored by?
Well, I've worked with people who I've mentored, and yes, absolutely. I mean, not in terms of coming up with a format, if that's what they mean, but in terms of working on productions and, overseeing people. Most of the people that I've worked with at some point when I was a producer or an executive producer, they're now themselves producers or commissioning editors or heads of channels or whatever. So, obviously, if you've had a successful relationship with somebody, just because you move away from them or they move away from you, it doesn't mean that you're on two separate planets. You're still going to be working together at some point along the future, albeit in a different relationship. Some people who were my boss, I've been their boss for many years, and I've never found that uncomfortable, and I hope they haven't. It's just the way that life is.
Absolutely. Also, just before you go, are there can you give us a few tips for kind of really nurturing a really useful and productive mentoring relationship?
I think that sort of I don't know what Remy will say on this. He's the expert on this. But I would say that the bigger part of mentoring is listening than actually constantly advising, because you actually need to listen to what the person who you're mentoring is saying and asking to actually sort of know. And if it's an informal relationship where you're sort of their boss and they're not asking you, then it's actually listening with your eyes, it's watching, it's looking at what other people are saying. A lot of some mentors just think it's about sitting down, and it's the old pupil teacher relationship where the teacher stands there and talks like I'm doing now in a way, but that's actually not the relationship you want. It needs to be a relationship that's quite equal, where you need that person who you're mentoring to actually be very open with you and get the information from you that they're looking for. Even if they don't know what it is, they need to tell you, like, to use that phrase, they need to tell you where the itch is so you can help scratch it for them or with them, whatever.
I think that's really important and amazing, because people are asking, does the mentor kind of get anything from the relationship? And I think that's absolutely, when you're open.
Absolutely you do. I'm terribly proud of all the people that were researchers and runners with me when I was their sort of producer. I take great pride in the fact that they're sort of so successful and great joy from their success. And I think that sort of, that's a really important part of working in television. If you can only gain happiness from your own success, I would advise you're in the wrong job. No, I would, because it is about seeing the people around you grow,
Rob, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Invaluable, and really helps shape people's thoughts when they're kind of connected with mentors.
Now, do I go now? Can I go now? Yeah.
You can.
All right. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. I want to introduce you to Nelish. I think most of us know Nelish, right? He's been, yeah, you've been around for a while, right? And when I last met you, you weren't doing the job that you were doing. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I'm really rubbish at stuff like that. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. And you want to talk to us about being both a mentor and a mentee, right? And the difference you've made in your career, yeah?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Simone. So I'm Nelish Dand. I'm the creative director at Pulse Films. So actually I've just joined late, and I was just going through the attendees list, and I've recognised so many amazing people, that some of which I've worked with in the past, some of which I obviously know. So it's great that there's so many great people on this scheme. I think Jude and Simone asked me to speak today because I've sort of been quite lucky, I guess, in my career, and I've had some brilliant mentors, and I've also had the chance to be a mentor myself, and definitely made lots of mistakes on that side of it, and you learn a bit over the years. But yeah, I just thought it'd be good just to speak a little bit about my experiences through mentorship, what I learned, what I took away from it, and the impact it's had in my career, and the impact I think it can have for other people, and hopefully will have for everyone, you know, on this call. So firstly, I think for me, and I don't know if this is like actually right, but I always think there's like 3 different types of mentors out there. There's the mentor that sort of foists themselves upon you, you know, and that's usually because they either see something in you that, you know, whether that's like an untapped potential, or it can be that they see themselves in you, or they see a certain set of characteristics that they have that they see within you. And you know, I think that type of mentor is a really powerful type of mentor, because often they're seeing something in you that you don't see in yourself, so you should listen very, very closely to what they're saying. Also, that mentor can be the kind that I think Remy and sorry, who was the gentleman who went before me? What's his name? Rob was talking about, which is that type of mentor can often be the type of mentor that's telling you what to do a lot of the time, rather than actually guiding you to realize things for yourself and make decisions for yourself. And then there's this type of mentor that you seek out. So, you know, you've seen someone you admire, you've worked with someone, and you've kept that relationship going, and you look for their advice and guidance at certain points in your career. And then the third kind is sort of a more structured mentorship relationship, where it's through a program, through a scheme, there are set goals, there are targets, it's for a defined period. And I think that's something like what will be happening here. And I think that type of mentorship can be the most transformative, as that structure really ensures that everybody gets something out of it, both the mentor and the mentee. And you can make the most of everyone's time in this accountability, and it can be a really amazing thing. So like I said, I've sort of had all 3 of those type of mentorship relationships. So I'm just going to speak a bit about what I found really helpful for me, and a couple of the experiences in particular that really helped me. So I think the first thing that a good mentor does is they help you sort of distill and crystallize what you're really good at. You know, what are your sort of magic qualities in a way? I think in the early stages of your career, you're sort of skilling up in lots of different ways. And then as your career progresses, it's more beneficial to really hone in on those things that you do that are really extraordinary. And I remember for myself, I had Carl Warner as a mentor at a period of my career, and who's the channel executive or channel controller, sorry, at E4. And I remember I had that relationship at the time where I had just taken a new role for myself, and I had this whole new set of responsibilities. But I was sort of a bit overwhelmed, you know, if I'm being honest. It was like, oh my God, I've got to do all this new stuff and all the stuff I did before. I remember Carl sort of told me that when he first started his company, he tried to do everything at the same time. And for the first year, he found it just wasn't really working. And then realized that actually he had to focus in on what he was best at and let other people do the other stuff around him. And that's when things started to really work. So, you know, I think one of the things about mentorships that's amazing is that your mentor has often been through what you're going through right there and then. It might not be the exact same thing, but generally we all go through the same or very, very similar types of problems. So, you know, one thing a mentor is really, really brilliant at is troubleshooting with their own experiences. And not that you have to follow exactly what they did, but you know, it quite often is a good way of making your own decisions. And then I think the second thing that's really, really amazing about having a mentor is a good mentor is really vulnerable. They tell you where they messed up. They tell you what they did wrong. They share their own doubts they had at certain parts of their career. And all of those things are just unbelievably powerful, because like if you're with someone you admire, you look up to, you think's done brilliant things, and suddenly they're sharing their mistakes and they're similar to yours, or they're sharing your doubts and they're similar to yours, that can really help you sort of move past all that and see it for what it is, which is just something we all sort of go through. And with that as well, I sort of just say, earlier we were talking about tips, and something I would say is a massive tip with when you've got structured mentorship is allow yourself to be vulnerable as well, because quite often it's with someone you admire, you look up to, and it's like kind of hard to talk about the things that you're actually messing up at, or the things that you're not sure about, because you really want to, you know, put your best foot forward. But that isn't really what it's about. You know, I think you'll get the most out of it if you're as honest as possible about the obstacles you're facing and what you're going through. And actually, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I mean, I had a mentorship relationship where I thought this person must think I'm so shit at my job because I'm sharing so much about things messing up. But actually, after the mentorship, they ended up offering me a job, and I was like, oh my god, I thought it was terrible the whole time. So don't really worry too much about that. Obviously, don't, you know, it's not, everyone's not trying to get a job out of it, and that's not what it's about. But you know, that was definitely my experience. And the third thing is, I think they just generally help you see things more clearly. You know, there's a lot of emotion in this industry. It's very intense. There's a lot of noise, and you can get caught up in that a lot of the time. And when you're trying to unpick what's going on, a mentor can sort of help you cut through all that and take away the noise and take away the emotion, and actually help you see things more clearly, enabling you to just make better decisions, I guess. So that's it. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's an amazing thing, this scheme, and I think everyone's going to get so much out of it. And yeah, that's it for me.
That's brilliant. We've had a couple questions come in. How can mentorship help you when you know the end goal of your career, but in the immediate you are happy on the path you're on? Do you have any thoughts on that? How a mentor might help you? You might be happy right now, but you know that in a few years' time or in a certain period of time you want to do this. How would a mentor help at this point?
I guess it doesn't. A mentor doesn't have to. I mean, I guess an important part of a mentor is guiding you in the decisions you make in your career. But actually, I think it's far more holistic than that, isn't it? It's so if you are set on what you're doing and where you're going, that's absolutely fine. But a mentor can help you shape you in lots of other ways. You know, if it's being a better leader, if it's being a better person, if it's being a better boss, if it's, you know, there's lots of different ways a mentor can help you beyond just the direction of your career. So if you are really sure about what you're doing, I don't think that's an issue at all. And in fact, like I remember I had a mentor who I was going to them because they started a business, and I was like, I want to start a business one day. And all they did was talk me out of starting a business. So I didn't at all get what I wanted out of it. But it was amazing and helpful to hear that, you know, from someone who's done it and actually come out the other side and said, do you know what, it might be what you think you want to do, but is it really what you want to do? So you might even find through interrogating a bit, you know, the path you think you want isn't the path you necessarily want, you know, if that makes sense.
Do you think, another question has come in, do you think it helps to have a very clear career goals when starting a mentoring relationship?
I think it's definitely helpful, but I also think it's helpful to have clear goals about what you want to get out of the mentorship, more so than actually where you want to end up in your career. Because I think the truth of everyone's career is you sort of zigzag, don't you? And that's not a bad thing. And I think sometimes the danger in obsessing so much about one thing. So I think actually, I think it's really, really important to have clear goals about what you want out of that mentorship, and being really honest about what you want out of that mentorship. You know, if it is you want a job out of this person, you know, I don't think that's necessarily the healthiest thing to embark on a relationship and a mentorship, but be honest about whatever it is you want. If you want that person to open up the contact book, that's okay too. You can say it might not happen, but I think it's really important to interrogate what you want out of the relationship more so than anything else.
And then just, do you ever worry about trust and confidentiality when asking advice from your mentor? It's a small industry. Do you ever worry about things getting back to people that you might have been speaking about?
Oh, massively, every time. Like I'd always, with certain relationships, I always think, should I tell this person this thing? You know, should I really? And in the end, I always did, and did go away worrying afterwards, if I'm being honest, going, you know, but I think anybody who embarks on being a mentor, I would imagine, is the type of person that would honor that relationship. You know, you'd absolutely hope that, but I don't think that ever takes away your nerves. I think it's something inbuilt within us because of the industry and the way it is. I think we've always got that sense of paranoia about sharing information, but I'd hope, and I think it should be a safe space. It really, really should be a safe space, because I think, again, unless you're being really honest about what you're going through or what you want or what's going on, I don't think you're going to quite get as much out of it as you potentially could.
Fantastic. And just before we let you go, and we thank you so much for your time, what are your kind of key tips, your top tips for kind of building and getting the most out of, you know, your relationship, your mentoring relationship?
Yeah. So I think a couple that I've already said, you know, so be vulnerable, allow them to see your flaws, allow them to see your doubts, be clear about what you want to get out of it. And again, it's not like you have to have that all lined out. You can work that out with your mentor, you know, in your first couple of sessions, but, you know, try to get some sort of clear goals that you want out of that relationship. And also be greedy. Like, I think there's a part of you that feels really bad about asking for the time, advice, and, you know, quite often in that relationship, they'll say, oh, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? And you always feel bad about taking more of the time and more of them, but don't worry about that, because like we were talking about earlier, your mentor is getting a lot out of this too. It isn't just a one-way relationship. It's not just you taking. They're getting a whole lot. They're learning loads from the relationship with you. They're growing as a person. They're becoming a different type of person by being a mentor. So, you know, be greedy with that time you've got with that person, you know, because you might not have it forever.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful. And I really hope that it helps people kind of, you know, cement in their mind how they're going to move forward with their kind of mentoring relationship. That was amazing. People are saying thank you in the chat. Thanks so much. I'm going to hand you over to a man that I call Remy G, who's going to speak to us about just setting goals. How we set goals, our intentions, what we want for the next year. I think when we're putting this session together, we wanted this session to be useful to you guys, regardless of whether you decide that you want to participate or not, that you're able to take away some really useful tips and strategies to kind of move forward in your career. So I'm going to hand you over to Remy, and Remy will talk to you about goal setting and, you know, building relationships with your mentor and all that amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Remy. Over to you.
Thanks, Simone. I don't know what made me agree to be last on a panel where everyone's pretty much covered everything already. This part of the session is going to be a little bit more interactive. So instead of typing into the chat box, you can just get a piece of paper and pencil and just write some things for yourself. Simone's asked me to talk about a few things, all of which lead to the same thing, but she wants me to talk about being coachable, being mentorable, which various people have touched on, identifying exactly what success looks like to you, and writing a letter from your future self to yourself, which we'll come to. It sounds a bit weird, but I promise it's a good coaching tip, and also selecting potential mentors. So a little about me. I come from a TV background, and I now work as a professional coach. And my clients today are across the creative industries, not just in TV. And there's a reason for that, which is, Rob kind of touched on this. When you're an executive producer working across multiple projects, you end up really being a coach and mentor. Now, why is that? It's because you're not telling people how to do their jobs. You're not telling series producers and execs what to do. You're really championing them. You're believing in them, you're holding them accountable. And all of those are the things that a mentor and a coach does. The only problem with that relationship is very often the people who you're coaching haven't asked to be coached. Very often they don't want it. They don't want mentorship. And very often you, as that executive producer working across multiple projects, as I was, haven't had any training as a coach. So the dynamic that you may have experienced at work is an experience where you don't want to be coached and mentored, and you're being coached and mentored by someone who has no training in it. And that's why I decided to get training as a coach. and work with people who actually have hired me to be their coach. But in the past, I've worked as a mentor. I've served as a mentor because it's unpaid. On this program, just so you have that worry taken off the table, I'm not going to be one of the coaches. So you don't have to think, do I want him or don't I want him? I will be working with the coaches who Simone and I have selected to support you, but I won't be one of them. Right, so as Simone said, like there are 150 odd people on this call, 150 others who applied, and only 50 will be chosen to be on the Breakthrough Leaders program this year. But every one of us has the potential to be a breakthrough leader. You don't need to be chosen to have a breakthrough. You don't need to be selected in order for you to be clear about your goals, or for you to be ruthless with yourself about what personal obstacles you need to overcome to achieve your goals. So if you're chosen to take part, we'll ask you to help us understand exactly what success in 2021 will look like for you. And we'll ask you to name a couple of people who you would love to be mentored by. And we'll also ask you to write a letter postmarked from 2022 from yourself to your mentor. However, I think all of you, whether you end up going on the program or not, will find something useful in these exercises. So let's start with being coachable, being mentorable. How do you feel about the idea of being coached or mentored? Did you get where you got up till now on your own? Maybe when I ask these questions, kind of think of yourself, think of it like 1 to 10, like how good are you at enrolling other people? How good are you at bringing other people on board to support you? 1 might be the worst, 10 might be the best. How much support and guidance from other people do you have right now in your life? 1 to 10. How much do you seek advice? If you are offered practical support, advice, or connections, how do you react? Now, if I said, look, I have a great industry figure who wants to champion you, you may have experienced this if you were nominated by someone who thought you'd be a breakthrough leader who you didn't know about. If I said, there's someone who really wants to champion you, how do you react? How do you react in your body? Do you feel a resistance? Do you feel a resistance in your body? Is part of you screaming out, I don't need or want any help, right? Now, just because you don't need any help, and trust me, you don't, doesn't mean that you don't deserve it. And Simone was talking about that distinction, that like we only really offer to support and help people who we feel deserve it, are worth it, and will get something out of it. So we really tend to want to support winners, which is it's maybe in some way a disappointing thing, but we don't tend to nominate losers, okay? So if you nominated yourself as a breakthrough leader, then some part of you already knows and accepts that you do deserve to be guided, you do deserve to be supported, championed, and held accountable. But if someone else nominated you, you may not have already accepted it, but someone in the industry really feels you deserve a breakthrough. So I want to switch this around and have you think about 3 of the most successful professionals in your field. So it could be producers, writers, commissioners, execs. Think of 3 really successful professionals in your field. You don't need to like them, you don't need to know them, but you rate them, okay? So just write down the names on your piece of paper of 3 of the most accomplished, recognized people in your sector. They don't need to be the most accomplished, but three accomplished, recognized people in your sector. Just going to give you just 15 seconds just to focus on that. It will seem a lot longer because time does feel very long when it's silent. Okay, so once you have the 3 names in front of you, I want you to rate them in the same way that I just asked you to rate yourself, 1 by 1. Okay, where did each of these 3 people, where did they get on their own? Or did they get where they got on their own? Okay, did each of the 3 people on your list get where they got on their own? Or like Nilesh and like Rob, did they have mentors and guides? do you think? You may not know the answer to that, but they may have spoken about it. How good are these three industry leaders individually at enrolling other people, bringing other people on board to Team Nilesh or Team Rob? How much support from other people do you reckon they have? Like, do they do everything themselves, or are they quite good at delegating? Are they quite good at getting support from other people? If you used to have the three people, you can just put 10 or 5 or whatever the number is next to each of them. Do they seek advice? If you were to offer them practical support or advice or connections, how do you reckon they would react? 10 being, yes, please, bring it on, and 1 being, get out of here. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that the most confident, successful people you know are also pretty good at enrolling other people for support. And I know this because I coach some very successful people in our industry and other industries. And the one thing that makes them stand out is how good they, in the first place, they've hired a coach, right? In the second place, they're very good at bringing on support onto their team, getting people to champion them, asking other people for advice. I mean, if you just look at Oprah Winfrey, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Leonardo DiCaprio, all have mentors and coaches. So the most successful people in your field, if you look at them, you'll discover, as we did with Rob or with Nilesh, who we might not have known about if they hadn't shared with us, that they've had all kinds of people helping them at every stage. There's a book called The Class Ceiling, and it's about, well, 4 different industries, but it includes TV. And the author, Sam Friedman, talks about what he calls a warm wind of invisible championing, a warm wind of invisible mentoring that a lot of middle-class, public school educated people in our industry have. And they have that because, as Nilesh said, in the first category of mentor, those are people who go, that person reminds me of me at that age. That person reminds me of how I was. They went to my school, they went to my college, and let me make a call to see how I can support them. And it often happens without the person even knowing, but the mentoring happens in a very informal way. You know, maybe they're a godfather or an uncle or the father of a friend, right? So there's a lot of invisible championing that goes on. And the first and most important thing that you can do is just accept that it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of success, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength to welcome that into your life and ask for it. Because it just makes the whole process so much more enjoyable for both parties. If you're there saying, like, I don't want help, I don't really need help, if your attitude towards your mentor or your coach is, I'm having this because it's part of the program, but I don't really want it and I don't really need it, it's like pulling teeth for them, because the joy, as Nilesh and Rob said, is the feeling that they, the coach, the mentor, is making a unique contribution to you. And they can't make a unique contribution to you if you don't want it. Then they have to make their help seem like it didn't happen. They have to make their aid and advice and support seem invisible because they know you don't want it. Whereas if you say, this is what I want, please can you help me? Then when they deliver it, they can do it and feel good about themselves. Because why would you want to be in a mentorship relationship with someone who didn't want your support? It sounds obvious, but it's really important just to tackle that. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk to you about is identifying exactly what success looks like to you. And there have been quite a few questions in the chat box about this, about having clearly defined goals. Why is it important to have clearly defined goals? Now, they don't need to be for 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but your goals from this course, from this program, from this year ahead, from your relationship with your mentor are very important to have. And if you use a metaphor, like if someone says to you, I want to travel the world, okay? Well, you might go, okay, that's nice. Great, good for you. But if they say, I'm really passionate about going to Brisbane, Australia, then suddenly you're engaged in a whole different way. Maybe you've been there, maybe you know someone who lives in Brisbane, maybe you know the best route, maybe you don't. But if you do, you just get so much more involved, and you know how you can support them in their journey because they have a clear destination. Now, to extend that same metaphor, like you may get help going to Australia and you may end up on the way in Singapore and never get to Australia, but you at least got a lot of help getting to Singapore and you might love it in Singapore. So this isn't necessarily about you wanting to go to Australia. This is about you saying you want to go to Australia so that someone can give you help. So if you say, I really want to be an executive producer of 3 shows or more at a time, that may not end up being what you find you want to do or what you end up doing, but being clear about it allows other people to support you in the journey of getting there, and you will acquire so many skills and connections and achievements and milestones along the way of going to wherever it is you say you're going. So just being clear about where you think you want to go for the next year is really important. What are the milestones? What are the achievements? What are the conversations and events that will make you feel 1 year from now that you'd enjoyed real success? And I'd like you just on a piece of paper just to write down for a start what you'd like it to feel, what you would like to feel about your career looking back on it. So imagine it's 2022 and you're invited onto this call by Simone to talk to the delegates of 2021 about your successful year. What would you like that year to feel like to you? So it could be like, I feel like I'm hitting my stride. It could be like, I feel like I'm achieving my potential. Or it could be, I feel joyous and light, or I feel free, or I feel charged. It doesn't have to be much, but just write down the feeling of what you'd like it to feel like a year from now. And then under that, I'd like you to write down the milestones, the achievements, the connections, the events, the conversations that would actually have supported you in feeling that. Because whatever it is you want to feel will have been brought about by things that you have done, things that you've achieved. And make them as granular as you want, make them as specific as you want, because it's really important, I think, to have a list of measurable targets that are very specific with numbers and dates. So a great example might be like to have directed one high-end documentary for Netflix, Discovery, or Nat Geo by next September. So I'm going to give you, oh gosh, only 5 minutes, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes just to write down the feeling that you'd like to have about your life and at work, and the milestones, achievements, and goals. Make sure there are at least 5 that would support that with numbers attached. So it might be, to have earned £75,000 by September, or it might be, to be executive producing more than 3 shows. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to give you 5 minutes just to write down a list for yourself at this stage of how you want to feel and how you want to get to that feeling. You can take this away when we finish and continue to work on it. But the key is that every point on your list needs to be specific, it needs to be measurable, and a stretch. Don't make it too easy. Don't have it be things that you already know are in the bag, or that this needs to be the definition for you of a breakthrough 2021. And don't hedge your bets by being vague. If it feels that your list is too easy, you haven't been ambitious enough. And will you achieve everything on the list? Of course not. The most important aspect is giving your mentor and your coach a clear idea about what success would look like to you. Because, I know a lot of you on this call, and I know that for other people, your life, your career would look like success. For some people on this call, other people's success would be their breakthrough. So you need to define your own breakthroughs. You need to define your own success, because it's different for each of us depending on where we are at in our career. And if you're able to give that, it's like a roadmap for your mentor. And it will also help you, when we come to this section in a couple of minutes, to select your mentor. Because once you know exactly what success would look like, then you can figure out who the best mentor is to help you get it. Very similar to the list of what success would look like to you is the next exercise I want to do together. This is the letter from your future self. And it's not my idea. It comes from a conductor called Benjamin Zander, who is he's an orchestral conductor. He's a professor of music. And he discovered that he was leading something very much like this, I guess, but for musicians. And he discovered that the top musicians from around the world who were on his program were quite hung up on getting a high grade. And he didn't always know how to help them be the best musician they could be, but he knew that they were quite stressed by not being. So he devised this brilliant approach, which is an approach that I want to share with you. His approach was, at the beginning of each semester, it only lasted 3 months because it was a summer program that he ran for musicians from around the world. At the beginning of the program, he would say to them, look, I'm going to give you an A. I'm going to give you an A grade. I'm going to give each of you an A grade. And all I need from you in return is a letter from you to me at the end of the program, as if it was written in 3 months. So I want you tomorrow to write me a letter, he would say to them, as though it was written at the end of the course, telling me what you had to overcome in order to get the A, what you had to learn in order to get the A, what you had to discover about yourself in order to get the A, what baggage you had to leave behind in order to get the A, which I've already given you. So the equivalent for this program is that I want each of you to assume that you've had the breakthrough that you want in 2021. I want each of you to assume that all the points on your list, or many of them, have been achieved. You're getting the recognition, the reward, the status, the creative challenge that would define that feeling of success that you've written. And then I want you to write a letter, in confidence, of course, because no one's going to see it but you at this stage, to Simone, and date it January the 20th, 2022. So this is the next thing I'm going to ask you to do. A letter dated January 2022 to Simone, thanking Simone for all the breakthroughs that you've had with the support of your mentor and your coach. List a couple of them, and crucially, how you brought them about. So you may just want to write this down as a steer for you. How have you changed and grown? Okay, how have you changed and grown? What fears have you conquered? What personal baggage, what ideas have you left behind? What kind of person have you become? How have you evolved? And this will be the kind of roadmap for your coach and you to work on in the program. And if you're not selected for the program, it will be the roadmap for you to work on with yourself or whoever you end up coaching you or who is in your circle. So just 5 minutes just to write down, how have you changed and grown? What fears have you conquered? What baggage and ideas have you left behind? What person have you become? How have you evolved? give you 5 minutes. So as with the list of your goals and milestones, the letter is something that is a work in progress. You can complete it at your leisure. But the important thing to remember here is that only you know what baggage you need to shed, right? Only you know what experiences you need to gain. You know better than your coach, better than your mentor, where your growth needs to occur. And only you know what's really holding you back and where you're afraid. So instead of wasting a year with your mentor and your coach, hiding your vulnerability from them, this letter from your stronger, more confident self 1 year from now will instantly help them understand you better, and it will help them support you. And it's a practice that will benefit your professional development in 2 ways. It will cushion your natural tendency to be hard on yourself when results aren't forthcoming, and it will make you accountable for creating a more complete view of exactly what you need to do to align your efforts. And Nilesh was talking about vulnerability, and it's so important to be a real person with your mentor, but it's also so important to give them some help. If you're playing strong and acting like you have the answers, you won't get the support and guidance you need. And part of that has to do with who you are. And I think, Rob and Nilesh may not have been as lucky as you will be, because they may have only had a mentor and not a coach. But this program is offering you 2 forms of support: a mentor who can help you with your professional goals, and a coach who can, as Simone described, work with you on what's going on inside your head and the baggage that you're carrying around that's stopping you from doing it. But don't worry if you haven't finished the letter. If you've only just started it, that's fine. You can do it later. And very quickly, I'm going to end with discussing selecting your potential mentors, because It's something that Rob and Simone and Jude and Nilesh have all talked about. And the short answer is that they should be way better, more experienced, more knowledgeable, more well-known and better connected than you are in at least one area that will be tremendously useful to your growth. And chances are they're older than you, but that's not always the case. You asked the question, someone asked the question about ethnicity and race, and I think it's interesting to look at that. If you're choosing someone who's white, why is that, or how will that affect me? And you know whether it's going to, you know why you're doing it, and you know there may simply not be a Black or Asian leader who you want to be your mentor, or it may be that the first person who came to your mind was white. But think about it, don't brush it aside. It certainly doesn't matter, but I think what's really important is that in some way, you feel like they've walked the path that you are on, and they're ahead of you on that path. And, if you feel like you're on a footpath and they're on the motorway, and you want to get from the motorway to for the footpath to the motorway, it may not be the person who's on the motorway who's the best person to help guide you, because they're on the motorway. Maybe they never were on the footpath. So someone who has a sense of where you're at through their own life experience is probably a more useful mentor to you than someone who hasn't shared any of your experience. But the fact is, whatever the skills, experience, or network you're looking to tap into, there is someone out there whose life achievements will make it way easier for you to achieve your goals. Someone whose experience and network will make it much easier to grow your network and to inspire confidence in others and have a breakthrough in your career. The question of the big name, look, wouldn't we all love to have a celebrity mentor? But the most important thing, I think, is in a different realm. So I'm going to offer some different questions for you. Number one, do I admire who they are as a human being? Right? You may not know enough about them to know whether you fully know the answer to that question, but you must think you do, because it's about who they are as much as what they do. Have they traveled on the road I'm on? Will they understand my journey? And will I feel comfortable being open and vulnerable with them? A really good question is, who have they mentored before and how did that go? It's not to say you shouldn't pick someone who's never mentored before. And it's not to say you shouldn't pick someone who's mentored before, but their mentees said it wasn't so great. It could be different. But someone who has mentored before successfully, like a Rob or a Nilesh, will be a much better mentor than someone has. At least the chances are in your favor. I think the key question has to be, how well placed are they to support my specific goals for 2021? Because we're committed to you having a breakthrough this year. And so a mentor who might be a wonderful mentor for your whole career may not be the ideal mentor to help you make the connections, have the experiences, overcome the obstacles that are standing in your way this year. So having written the letter from your future self about the obstacles that you're overcoming, and having looked very granularly at your goals for this year, ask yourself, is the person I've chosen the best person to help me get there this year? Because that will make them a terrific mentor for this program. And that will ultimately, I think, make you more likely to have the breakthrough that the Breakthrough Leaders Program is committed to you having. So very happy to answer questions, but that's all I have for now.
That was absolutely amazing. Remy, I think that the suggestion should be that anyone who's selected should bring that letter to the first session. I think that would be absolutely essential. So, I mean, so what I'm going to request is, although there's 400 people that have nominated, everyone's going to be asked to do the same thing, that I will request all of you to take the time out after the session, when you have some time on your own, to go through the points that Remy said, and actually to write that letter. Because if you are selected, we're going to ask you to bring that letter to the first session, and we're going to use that as the kind of starting point as to start building your career plans and what's going to happen for you over the next 12 months. So, you know, don't just think, oh, that was cool, and, you know, jump off and think, oh, I forget about that. Actually, I want you to take a little bit of time to actually go through that exercise and write that letter to the future self. And even at the very least, even if you know, we don't use it to go through the journey, I think it'd be just so important for you guys to kind of tap into yourself and kind of really, you know, get in tune with what it is you want to achieve and how you're going to achieve it. So I think that that would be a really important thing for you guys to do. Yes, that's right, Marina. Tell them, set your intentions. It's important to set your intentions. Do you know what I mean? And that was remarkable. Is there anything else? Yeah, is there anything else that people want to ask in terms of, like, we've got about 5 minutes left before we kind of end the call. We've got Jude here that looks going to support your careers and other bits. Remy's going to be the head coach, look after all the coaches, and I'm kind of overseeing and making sure everybody's happy. Is there anything that we want to ask before we go? Do you know what I mean? What's the next step? I'll tell you the next step in a minute. Oh, thank you for all your kind words about the session. You know, I hope you found it useful. Whether, like I say, you become one of the 50 or not, I hope that you found something in the session that you can take away and that can be used. Remy, you're getting so much love. Everybody thinks you're great. I do too. But, you know, everyone likes the idea of the letter as well. And like I said, please take the time to actually do that letter, because when you come to the first session, that's the first thing I'm going to be asking. Do you know what I mean? Is where is that letter? And I'm glad that it helped with your application. That's what we were hoping. So just let me give you some key dates very quickly before you guys go. Can I be? Oh, I've disabled my screen sharing, so I can't. Jude, have you given me back my, excuse me for that? Oh, okay, well, you're going to have to remember them, and I'll send you an email as well. The next key date is the 29th of January. Yeah, 29th of January, that is the deadline for applications. So that's really important for you guys to know. You will be informed, those will be informed by mid-February, whether you've been selected or not. And the first session is on the 24th of February. I believe it's at 4 o'clock. And I believe it's the 24th of February. And again, we'll send emails and confirm that. Also, there'll be a press announcement towards the end of February, early March. And I'm hoping, depending whether COVID allows us, that I would love to do the picture that we did in 2017 with our new delegates. So yeah, we'll be in contact very soon. So yeah, depending on COVID and whether we're allowed in the studio or not. But so deadline 29th of January, you'll be informed by mid-February. Whether you get on the program or not, we're going to pull together all your information and put it on a website, and we'll give you more information on how that will happen. And I know Jude will definitely be the 50, kind of make sure that everybody knows about you. We'll do a lot of noisy press around our selected. Yeah, and fantastic. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of love. Thank you so much. I hope you guys got something out of it. Thank you so much to Jude, Remy. Without you guys, this wouldn't happen. Thank you to Fremantle, because without them, it definitely wouldn't happen. So just want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate that you guys gave us your 2 hours. I'm really humbled. I'm just, I can't wait. Let's listen. They keep saying they don't know where the talent is. Let's done that argument. See we here, yeah? Lots of love. I'm out. Like I said, I'll send you a copy. Everyone will get a copy at the end. All right. Lots of love. See you later, everybody. Bye.